Hello everyone, how you guys doing? We are live once again at the NickWalshTV channel. Give me just a moment. I need to sort some stuff out. I was actually ready and rearing to go here, guys. Is that better? That's a little bit better. I was actually ready to go. I was absolutely jazzed about this, and then my Restream account went a bit funny. So I'm just going to double check everything is live really quick, and then we will get straight into it today. No ranting. Which I know you guys love when I rant. I mean, let's be real. Welcome to the NickWalshTV channel, guys. We're going to play $25 spins today. It's a Friday, the 16th of the month. And yeah, we're just going to put in some more volume. If you guys are new here, I'm Nick Walsh. I am a PokerStars ambassador and member of hashtag Team Pro for PokerStars. And I play Spin and Goes. We're going to play spins. Anything that we play now will contribute to a 2026 target if we do decide to set one. I'm still working on that. This morning, I was going to sit down and do a bunch of work on my content plan. However, I had to go join a new gym. If you guys are aware of the very old, very fancy hotel, it's called the Grand here in Brighton. They basically sent me an email last night and said we're finally open for membership, which is like brand new in their brand new health club. It's very cool, and I convinced myself that if I spend a shitload of money, that I will go to the gym. That is the logic, and this year we're going to try and get a bit more healthy. So that took precedence, but we're live and we're here, and yeah, we're going to play some Spin and Goes. So just bear with me, guys. 2 seconds. I just got to update my socials really quick, and then we'll jump straight in. I can just copy and paste this one from yesterday. All good. Nick Walsh TV, PokerStars UK, Spin and Go session. Now. Sorry, guys. This is really annoying. I was completely prepared, and then oh, no, that's not what I want to do. I was completely prepared, and then I had to sort out my restream, which went down. So now I think we're live. Just if you guys could just confirm, I'm also on YouTube right now as well. That'd be great. Today is Friday. All right, cool. Yeah, we're good. 2 more seconds, guys. Just got to get this on Discord as well. Tom messaging me like, "Where the fuck are you?" We were live 10 minutes early with the countdown, but then I came to the computer and it actually hadn't gone through because I lost access. Boom, we're done. All right, so yeah, I lost access to the restream that I was using, but I have my own personal one as well. So we should be going out now to. We're live. Okay, we should be live on both. Cool. All right, cool. So let's get into it, guys. This is going to be a shorter stream, I think. So let's just play poker and let's see how we go. One thing I will say. Let's take a look at the graph first. Here we go. Oh, that is not the button I was looking. That's not the button I'm looking for either. Oh, okay. Let's try that again. NWTV. All right, let's take a look at the graph first. All right, 2026 so far, running good. We ran really good yesterday. We're winning a bunch of money. How long that will last for is we'll see. The spinning goes taketh, and they giveth, and everything in between. We also have unlocked a fair number of bonuses already because of the Spin and Go promotion, the Spin and Go live promotion, where you can qualify for the Spin and Go championships at EPT Paris. I think I've unlocked like $80 in rewards already, so that's cool. Additional bonuses are great, especially in the super low edge game that we're playing right now, and every little counts. So I'm doing tracking right from the beginning of the year. So 2026, I'm tracking all my bonuses just like I did for the Spin and Go challenge, except even better because I'm going to track. I'm going to track the. Well, actually, I tracked both last time. Sorry, I'm tracking all my bonuses like I did in 2026 for the challenge. Full stop. But I'm also going to track my multipliers where I know the number of second place finishes that I had as well. I didn't do that in the last challenge until the end, and it ended up being like very, very important to the overall finish because I came second in pretty much every single game that I didn't win that was 10x higher, 10x multiplier or more, which is a huge increase in the overall edge, right? But yeah, this is where we're at. We're going to play some games, and we're going to note down some... Note down any hands that we want to review. We did a huge review session, and what I wanted to say was I'm very pleased with where we're at right now because I want this whole year to really be about locking in. I don't want to autopilot this year. I want every game to count, and I want all the games that we feel like we could have done better to be a learning exercise. And the first 2 sessions so far on this channel have been exactly that. Hello, everybody in the chat. Hello, Tom. Sorry for the I haven't even looked at your message yet. Sorry for the delay. I was live 10 minutes ago, and then obviously he's like, "Where the fuck is this guy?" Erwin, hello. Paul, hello. How you guys doing? Erwin says, "I listened to your story about being on a rush or something when you win and keep on winning. Well, I lost and I kept on losing." The story actually was less to. It was not about being on a rush, as in I was winning a lot. It was I was rushing my games and I was sort of autopiloting. It's the opposite. What's up, Martin? When I get Nicky, I get Clicky. Hello. So yes, no, the rush I was making reference to in the reel was not a good rush. It was you're rushing your game and you're not taking your time with your decisions, which is not good. All right, let's get across to the YouTube and see what they're saying over there as well. What? Yeah, okay. Random nonsense comment. Feels good. Okay, cool. Pop this one out. This guy limped the button and now wants to bet one big blind. Okay. We have a pair to go with our gut shot. And I think the pair might be good enough. He checks the flop. Checks the turn. I think we have the best hand probably a lot of the time. I don't know. Is this how he's going to play a 7? Maybe. He limped the button, so he's going to have like tons of random shit, right? Yeah, that works. The deuce is good. And here against this guy, we're going to find a limp. Now, the limp with that combo as well is going to be pretty much immediate confirmation that this guy is not going to be a reg. I think we can just get away with betting our gut shot here, possibly 2 barrels. Do we bet the ace of clubs? I think we might actually do okay here. Let's try that. In that case, having the gut shot is sort of backup, but for the most part, I think that we're gonna just get a lot of folds here. I'm gonna do something weird here, guys. I'm gonna do a limp against these two, and just flop a set because it's really easy. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for saying that we're live. This is a lovely spot now. Just the flat is good, and yeah, that's huge for us here. Perfect turn. Now I have a new document for this. We want to do. Goes. So what was that? Okay. Technically, we're just going to 3-bet jam. I think probably we will in this spot as well. Wish me luck, guys. Get the chips in good here. Fairly clean game. Just really quick, guys, while I've got this open. Give me a moment. So, blah, 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 blah. 6 deuce, good call. 6 deuce suited. So the limp it with the 9s there obviously is really unconventional. Just based on the play that we saw from these players, from the player on the left in particular, I'm just trying to be in as many pots as possible where they can make a bigger mistake. Just out of interest, let's finish this note as well. So limp button multi-way. We started this game. We started this hand like quite deep. So let's call it 15 effective. What was it, king 3 off or something? Yeah, this is a very, very weird bluff. King 3 off. Cool. A very unconventional limp. In fact, probably a massively losing limp. You're playing too many hands from this position in a multi-way pot. Also, if you're going to play King 3, maybe you bet the flop. I'd probably not. I mean, this is the kind of board that I'm going to probably hit more often than the limping range would if they were trying to limp, stronger cards like they're supposed to, if at all. They're not really supposed to do that. Betting the flop and then giving up and then trying to bluff this river is weird. Anyway, nice hand for us there. Right, cool. Good game. Very good game. You shove 5 times into aces with in 55 games, got 3 out of the same amount. Yeah, it's savage, dude. I experienced the same thing during the challenge. I had probably like a solid month where every time I was all in, like blind v blind with a completely like foolproof hand, I was just running into overpairs, and it sucks. A rare Friday stream, that's right. Simple Hacker says perfect river 2. You missed quad 9s. Yeah, I know. I'm a failure. But we'll work on it. Yeah, so basically, guys, right from the very start of this year, I just want to get off to a strong start here, and make sure that we're focusing on, playing each game as well as we possibly can. This is a limped pots. And I think probably I think this is slightly better. Nice. Got called as well. It calls us with a 3 here in this case. Like, technically speaking, we're supposed to have 1 big blind bluffs there when we have missed hearts. What's interesting is a lot of people don't. So when you're playing Reg v Reg, you can give them credit for doing exactly that. You can see Sir Blackroll here using this 1/3 effective ISO as well, which is part of the advanced strategy. The what did Texas Tomo call it again? Dynamic ISO sizes. Yo, Brandon, what's up? Tom214. This one's fine. The Sir Blackroll here. Flop top 2, no good. And just the push here. Got a question over there on YouTube from Fran. I'm just gonna text it out here. I feel like I've been answering this question a lot. I should get like a little copy and paste going here. Okay, and on these boards, we can do this. And then we can also do this. This might be our best bet to get called by worse Queen X or Jack X, just because it looks more bluffy. Like, he probably should be calling with a Jack or a Queen here quite often. I don't think he has an ace that often, so it's good. And this one's just a limp. Me too, Tom. Me too. Hopefully the same thing happens again when we move up here. Now, verse reg, where are we at with queen 6? This is fine. Just the push against the reg here, I think, is going to be the best thing for us to do. Queen 9, definitely a call. Good on the all-in. Fair enough. Fair fight, though. You know, when we encounter a strong reg like Sir Blackroll there, what's interesting to think about is, like, ultimately we want to try and have an edge on all of our opponents. But when you encounter somebody who's really well studied in spins, like, the edge is very, 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 very small, because you anticipate that you're both probably going to make very few mistakes, and you're also going to play closer to a more unexploitable strategy, which makes it even harder for your opponents to glean any real value from your play. So for that reason, you know, especially in a faster 2x or a 3x multi, like, it's almost better for us to play, if we know that there is a combination that can be played as a push, like, it's almost probably better for us to play it as a push. If it's close, simply to, you know, neglect our opponents the opportunity to exploit us more often if they're good players, which will happen a lot more if you give them the opportunity. And what I mean by that is, if you enter the pot and you allow them to outplay you post-flop, right, like, that really sucks for your edge when you know that the push is going to be over 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 hands, going to probably be, like, the simplest way to achieve that same EV. All right, we are defending the Jack 8s. Very reasonable spot to check raise here. And I think this would be completely fine at this particular stack depth. Like, we're telling a believable story that we would still do this with a 9. What's up, Zhao? Good to see you, buddy. I guess one of the funny things about moving up as well is we're just kind of playing poker with a lot of people we know, a lot of friends of the stream. I mean, yesterday we might have played with, like, 4 different people who I've conversed with about spinning goes, like, personally or on stream or whatever. Hello, Yaya over there on YouTube chat. What's up? We're getting check raised. We're getting check raised here, and I don't want to believe it. I actually simply don't want to believe it. In fact, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to allow this to happen. I am not going to allow this to happen. Okay, I might allow it on the turn. One of the biggest issues I have with this is the check raise is probably meant to be Queen X Jack 10 as well. However, I think probably the Queen is a particularly bad one to try and get massively out of line here. The no equity float on the flop is because Zhao is my friend, and it's good for stream. What's up, big deal? Good to see you, mates. Now, we have a straight draw we're going to call. How often do we get away with betting the turn and leading the turn here? All right, we're gonna do something like this on the river. In actual fact, yeah, this is fine. We would like to try and get some 10x and 7x to folds. We're using a size that is very believable and probably as powerful as 3 big blinds. Like, if our opponent has a decent flush there, in fact, if they have pretty much any flush, they're going to call us, you know. So we're not trying to get them to fold too many spades, except for maybe the absolute bottom of the range. Okay, that check probably saves us a lot of money there. We're going to try and be better at finding more checks. We definitely over c-bet, which is a great strategy against unknowns, but against good regs, we just don't want to do that as often. Not nearly as often. Yeah, thank you for the good lucks. Appreciate you, mates. Dankel says, hey, Nick, your avatar pic looks more rugged than you look on stream. Thank you. This actually isn't a picture of me, or it was a picture of me But it was a picture of me using AI to combine a picture of Joe Stapes and myself. I didn't actually make this. I can't remember who sent this to me. It might have been John Delano. John Delano might have done that. It was a merge between me and Joe Stapes. Funny, it was a merge between me and Joe Stapes around the same times that there was a merge for Spinning Goes as well. Okay, against Zhao, we are going to limp this. We're going to call a shove if we need to. Otherwise, we're going to try and play a beautiful hand in position here. This is a fine bet. We did some really good work yesterday on check raising, didn't we? We with some really, really interesting board textures. Learning about some of the more outlandish check raises we're allowed to get away with. Like, if you guys missed that and you want to go bore yourself, go and check out our review session yesterday. Some really, really, really interesting check raise opportunities on particular boards. And this time we'll give him the Santa Claus. Can we win a flip? Oh, unlucky there. Fairly good. And again, when we're playing a good reg, like getting it in as a flip there is so much better than just getting brutalized post flop. And it feels so good to be all in with a hand that, is going to win half the time. We're not going to win that often. We're going to win that very often, but it's about 50-50, right? Getting it in like that feels so much better than we were in like cold deck hell forever for a little while there. We were truly in cold deck hell there for a little while, where like every time we were in with fives, they always had an overpair. Every time we shoved ace five blind v blind, they had ace king. It was just like, ugh. I actually I needed an avatar for this year. This isn't going to fly for 2026. We need a more upbeat, positive looking avatar. I look really downtrodden there. Thank you very much for the follow. That was Martin. Appreciate you. Queen high for the win? Yeah, queen high for the win. No need to bluff. Just the float. Just the float on the flop is appropriate. We have a gutter. And here, in the 2x multiplier, let's just simplify the push. We need to get back in the flow of we need to get back in the flow of doing that, right? We need to be aware of the multiplier. That's going to change our strategy a lot because we want to speed everything up. We want to take as many chips as possible in the really low equity spots, and then we want to give ourselves more time to play the high equity spots at a deeper stack depth. I think there's actually a hidden meta there that has made a huge difference to the overall game, absolutely. Like that quick exchange that I know is going to be profitable long term, that gives me more time to play from position is going to be, I think that actually makes a big difference to the overall experience. Clubs or a deuce. Nice. This could be a real profile picture after completing the 50K challenge. It was a drag. We learned a lot though, Martin. We learned a lot, and I think part of what we learned is it's going to take a lot of volume, and it's going to take a lot of perseverance associated with volume targets in order to maximize what's available. I know enough people that are playing full time still, where it's a worthwhile grind. It doesn't feel as fun well, first of all, I prefer reg speeds, and I think reg speeds are more fun. Full stop. Like that's just how I feel about it. But also throughout that challenge, this is going to be ATC. Throughout that challenge, the realization of how much more additional volume we get through has its upsides too. Smashing through 3 times the volume and hitting reward targets 3 times as fast has a certain appeal as well. But yeah, I'm with you, Martin. You're not wrong. I mean, especially in those months where we were just in Cooler City. It's very easy to get stuck in Cooler City when you're playing spins. And it's not a good city to be in. It's not my favorite city, Cooler City. Any ideas on new profile pictures, though, guys? I can submit a new one here. In the 2x, I think against the unknown player, this is going to be better. Oh, you see the snap check there as well? Snap check pre. Oh, dibs. Oh, dibs. I mean, he's not going to have an ace. He could very easily have a flush, though. He could very, very easily have a flush. I'm not sure if I'm going to fold, though. I'm not folding. Wish me luck, guys. What? Okay, we need to note this one down because that is outlandish behavior with ace-8. So first things first, we want to make some notes on this because this is super unconventional. Even for players that don't play a ton of spins, check back ace-8 off versus limp BVB 15 effective is super important to note. And comeback is on. That is a really, really weird way to play the hand because, of course, what we end up having is like, first of all, the all-in is going to be super profitable, and most people know that an ace-8, like an ace-8 there is a monster in a spin. But then, like, finding the raise on that flop is really, really interesting. We're flatting kind of in part for deception, but also in part because usually that pattern of behavior is like a flop 2 pair, a flop flush. I think it's enough 2 pairs and similar that we're going to want to probably just get the rest in there. If our opponent is super capped and not having an ace, then obviously our hand is ridiculously strong. And when a game starts at 15 big blinds effective, that's even more true, right? The deeper we get, the more likely we are to encounter players who are going to underplay their weak ace combos. This is going to be a fold. And probably run this one with the extra dead money in the big blind. That's fine. With dibs, putting in an extra big blind, we have a lot more to play for. So we're playing for 5 big blinds here, which is huge in relation to the amount we risk. We definitely have the right equity to spin that one. The full comeback. Unlucky with the 6-4. That's fair enough, though. We were very shallow. I think probably that works fine. Let's log out of this one. And let's get into a new account here. This is the one that we want. Close up. I had to use Microsoft Edge. Is it Edge? Microsoft Edge browser there to log into Restream because I was trying to get online. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any ideas of. Let me know if you guys have any ideas on what the new avatar should be. We need something new for 2026. We need something that exemplifies this healthy living, hardworking, high level poker study kind of thing. Yeah, I think probably in hindsight the 10-9 should just be a shove on the flop. And if they have a flush, they have a flush. That's probably like way better, to be honest. I think we probably were overthinking a little bit. What's up, Zafine? Good to see you. I know it's Friday. It is Friday, a rare Friday. But, you know, I don't want to say get used to it because we haven't confirmed yet. But I think that this year what I want to try and do is more short streams in the week rather than doing like Monday is Sunday Million or similar and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the occasional Friday. I think I want to try and do maybe even like a little bit on Monday daytime, then like a Sunday Million, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for a few hours, then Friday for a few. I don't know. Still trying to work it out, but we'll get there. Let's see how our opponent responds on the turn once we call the eights. I think a lot of players will bet King Jack 8, but not necessarily 2-barrel. And now that we arrive here, I guess just getting to showdown is better. The bet doesn't feel good. We do get bluffed here occasionally, but we'll see how it goes. I don't want to say the 9 changes that much because Queen 10 very often, Queen 10 will usually bet flop, bet turn. I think the King barrels twice. Like this could be a Jack putting in a value bet, but I'd say most of the time we're probably not going to encounter a straight unless it's 10-7. So, yeah, feels good. This will be a little lead. Let's do this one here. I think this feels best. Although maybe we should have gone bigger, actually. This is perhaps a misstep with the sizing. I think we commit to this now. Yeah, okay. We're kind of bluffing at this point. Wish me luck. Might call with a 7 or a 5. But I think this is the better line. I don't want him to win with like 5-6 or some shit like that. I think that is probably a great spot to just continue the aggression. And here we can do a little bit of everything. Based on the interaction so far, I'm going to throw this into the trap department. Feels like he really wants to be extra aggro. He feels like he's the kind of player that's really testing the boundaries of what's possible here at the moment. And on this flop, the best way to get value is from clubs or straight draws. So we're just going to bet flop. And of course, like he's not going to have a queen that often here, technically. Blinds are up next hand. That is relevant. Running into ace-9 here, pretty unlucky. Obviously, we're always going to shove ace-deuce at the stack depth. It's a very, very rare occasion we're not going to push an ace. It's just so wildly profitable at that stack depth. Trap the sixes here for sure. Again, hopefully we're going to get some like ace deuce shoves, some king deuce shoves, some queen deuce shoves. Pocket two is completely reasonable and fair. Cool. Yeah. All good stuff. And cool. Next game. That was a very, very, very good game for us. We really cooked on that one. I need more gray hair. Yeah, sounds good. Hello, Teebs in the chat. Hello. Haven't caught one of your streams in ages. I know. Well, I haven't really had a chance to be online as much as I would have wanted anyway. But also this year, like I've said, a lot already. This year, a lot more streaming and a lot more spins and higher stakes and all that good stuff. I would say there's a good chance we're supposed to be flatting here quite often. I think we're going to flat this one. I don't actually think blind v blind we encountered as much. Is the shove better here? The shove might be better here against the full pot bet. Yeah, wish me luck. Yeah, well done. I would love to study that one. Let's mark that one for review. I want to know if he's supposed to full pot there because I think that is a thing. But it's not something that we're necessarily doing. And whenever we encounter that, we want to talk about it. We want to think about it. I mean, so we're not marking this because we were concerned about how to play aces, but we are marking this because we want to I think we played our aces fine. When we encounter the full pot, though, I think the shove is important because the call is actually going to probably look stronger than the shove. The shove can then obviously be like flush draws and stuff like that too, and straight draws. But when our opponent chooses to full pot, a lot of the strategies are going to be to just call with equity because you've committed so much to your stack. I don't know, on Jack High, on that texture, do we really want to have a full pot bet? It feels wrong to me, but I could be completely... Sir Blackroll is a good player, so... Woo! Look at this, guys. Thank you. Service with a smile. Oh. Okay. And Limp King 10, we're going to call a shove here. Start barreling. Martin says, have you tried the updated Spin and Go Max? I have not. Oh, sorry, I have, but I was never a Spin and Go Max player anyway, so like I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Wow. This run out cannot get any worse. Okay, if he checks this river, I think more often than not he turns up having like a 10, which could be a 9-10 or something like that. I don't think that he ever checks the spades or a straight here, and so for that reason, I think we're supposed to do this. Whoa, okay, fair enough. Interesting check from Marcos here. Maybe we're being too greedy, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he gets a lot more if he bets, but I could be wrong. Greyface, what's up? Hi, Nick. Love the chat and the Grosvenor stream yesterday. Do you know who I am? I definitely didn't say that. No, I don't expect anyone to know who I am, I'm afraid, but I thought it was a little bit unusual. I thought it was a bit unusual for a fellow poker commentator not to recognize the name a little bit, but here we are. Yep, 8-7 just a push, especially against a good reg. I definitely don't want anybody to think I'm pulling a "Do you know who I am" situation. That was not the case. Um, especially somebody that is, especially a gentleman that is clearly a lover of the Open, of the Irish Open. Having done commentary for that for 3 years, but hey, fair enough. I I absolutely cannot throw any stones. How are you doing anyway, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. Queen 4 is a call here. Okay, getting the walk is even better. And the queen tray is very clearly within a shove. This is going to be a shove for like 7 bigs technically. If you want to squeeze out a little bit more, if you want to squeeze out a few more chips, you can take out some of the weakest queen X at 7, but then at 6 you're going to want to go. Feels good. Next game. Pretty standard stuff there. And I think that's the name of the game, guys. Generally speaking, if the games against 2 regs usually result in that was all pretty standard and not I'm about to make a hero call and I'm getting it wrong too often, or I'm bluffing and he's calling me and all that kind of stuff, I think at that point we're feeling okay because, we should be crushing in the games where we're playing unknown players. We want to be really careful here. Really, really careful on these boards. Big Deal says, I like a spin and go max. Enjoy the variety and the number of players. You just have to commit to not getting wound up for picking a 1.5. So that's the bit. That's the bit of it, buddy. I think I've said this before. You would have heard this, but spin and go max for me was just always a little bit too much. Like spinning goes, everyone's like, this game is a joke. This is like carnival game. This is gambling. This is like a slot machine. I think that just like a traditional reg speed spin and go is actually like a lot of fun, and it's still very pokery if you know what you're doing. And then having a variable number of players, I think that's still kind of cool. And having a variable prize pool, I think that's still kind of fun. But when we get to like the box picking, that's where I was just like, okay, the worst thing that ever happened to me in spin and go max, and I haven't played a ton, was I was battling for ages and I was trying to get a good multiplier, and I finally got a good multiplier and I won it. And then I ended up picking a box that was for less than what second place got. That just shouldn't be a thing. Like, give me a small box at the end, sure. But never give me a box that was less than the guy won for second place, All right, 2x multiplier. We're just shoving, of course. All pretty standard. QB says, from 5 $1 spin tickets, I won $5. Sounds good to me. Look at the flop here. Yucky. Ace deuce call. I think it's probably okay. We're gonna shove enough that that you beat there. You might want to take out the worst ace combos there just in case if you don't know your customer. I'm good, Greyface. We got off to a good start this year. We got off to a really good start. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up this year. I mean, even just not talking about poker now, even just talking about like 2026 as a whole. Those of you that watch very closely will know that I am an investor in a Bloody Mary company. We are bringing good Bloody Marys to the United Kingdom because I would say that there is a gap in that market. Even companies who are newer, who have been trying to develop that space, I think that they're not very good. So in 2026, hopefully we'll be getting our product out for sale. And it's cool to do something outside poker as well, have another thing to work on. It does feel good to does feel good. Yeah. Okay, we're folding flop. How are we thinking about this now? I have something in mind here. I'm doing a thing, guys. I'm still working out the thing. Until I talk about it, I don't want to talk about it because I just want to do the thing for a little bit. I think Sexy Genius is almost definitely a reg. I think that's that. I mean, I think I've played this player before. Now, one big blind on the flop. Pretty straightforward. Take a free flop here. And I think we can just start betting flop if we want. Seems good. I think that's pretty straight. Our opponent's just going to check fold there a ton, I think, if they're not trapping, which didn't seem to be the case. Not quite queen 10 here, I don't think. Brandon says, is it bad if I don't know what a Bloody Mary is? Yes, especially you, dude. Are you kidding me? Tell me you're actually trolling me. You've got to be trolling me, mate. You must be trolling me. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, a Bloody Mary is an alcoholic cocktail that has some sort of a tomato base. I guess the best way to describe it, which should not put you off at all because it's awesome, is like an alcoholic tomato soup. I would say that it is closely related with, or pretty much known as, a hangover cure of sorts. You wake up, you're hungover, you don't have any, you need electrolytes, you need some vitamins, you want something cold, you want a little bit of booze. You wake up, and very commonly, bars in America will sell you a Bloody Mary. They'll sell you Bloody Mary mix, right? And the idea is that it's like a spiced tomato juice, and that's the important part. That's what everyone seems to mess up. It needs to be a spiced tomato juice with vodka, but you can also do it with gin, in which case it's called a red snapper. You can do it with tequila, in which case it's a Bloody Maria, and there's like a bunch of other variations. I have a book on Bloody Marys up here that's about that thick. There's like 1,000 different ways to do it, most of which are totally gross. In the States, they're pretty famous for like doing a very spicy version of it. And it is, when you have a really good Bloody Mary, it's like, oh my God, bliss. So, me and my company have invented a mix that we think is very, 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 very good. Not only that, it is allergen free, which is very difficult to do with a Bloody Mary. And we're trying to get it sold in the UK market because a lot of the other sort of close competitors are not good. There's a couple good ones, and they're okay. Ours is just a little bit better. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The mistake that people make is they think it's just tomato juice and vodka, which is technically true, but like the number of times in the UK I've gone, can you make me a Bloody Mary? But like, have you ever done it before? And they're like, yeah, I know how to make a Bloody Mary. And I've watched them put raw tomato juice with nothing else into a glass with a shot of vodka, and they're like, there you go. And that'll be 20 quid. I'm like, I'm going to kill you. It's an urban legend and a bad cocktail. It's not a bad cocktail. That's the thing. The number of people who have said to me, Nick, I don't like Bloody Mary, and they've tried our Bloody Marys and they went, is this what it's supposed to taste like? I'm like, yes, you missed it. You're it's not your fault, but you've been misinformed. I figured it was alcoholic. I very, very rarely drink, but if I do, I drink vodka and soda only. I think I drank it with Nick once at the Canadian Embassy, so probably that's a lie, but it's true. I drink like 2x per year. I mean, maybe I don't know if we would have drank that at the Canadian Embassy. Funnily enough, guys, the Canadian Embassy is not in Canada. It's not a Canadian Embassy. It's a bar opposite the hotel in Paris where we have the European Poker Tour. Famous for that reason. Greyface says, I don't drink at all now, just over 12 months. Congrats. And actually, as a company, we support that. We are selling the Bloody Mary mix without alcohol. And that means that if you guys would like to do it, reg v reg and a 2x. Okay, let's just take it here. This is fine. So in a as a company, we are going to sell the product non-alcoholic, at least to begin with. We might give options in the future because it's a really, really good spiced tomato juice. And I think it's actually has significant number of health benefits, especially if you are not going to want to have alcohol with it. So you can enjoy a virgin Bloody Mary. That's what they call it. But if you want to spice it up, you can make it boozy if you pick your poison. Congrats on the 12 months though as well. I'm cutting back loads this year. Martin says, I actually like Spin and Go Max. Yeah, it was full of random skirmishes, but it was a solid dopamine feel. I appreciate that. It wasn't my jam, but I'm not hating on it. The updated version feels way too boring for me. The value of the unknown prizes dropped hard when you're playing five-handed and there's only one winner who can still pull a 1.1. I'm with you on that as well. That was my feeling when I tried the other version. King high like a boss? Check down. Okay. Oh, not the Deuce River. Why did I say especially you? Because I just feel like with your international connections, it would have been something you know. Hey, Junior, what's up? Hello, Nicholas. Is everything all right? Everything is okay, buddy. How are you? Micheladas are good, too. Yeah. No, I said I drank with you at the Canadian Embassy in general, not Bloody Mary. I would have had a vodka soda for sure because that's all I wrote. Fair enough. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, all good. That makes more sense. And also because it's more of like a North American thing. That's kind of why I thought maybe you would have known. All right, Vin, let's see what you got, buddy. Playing poker versus Vin, not ideal. I'm going to be real. Guys. Very good spin and go player. Not fun. It's not fun when they cook you. It's fun doing the cooking. I want to be the chef. I don't want to be the meal. That is amazing. I'm in. Looking forward to getting the details. Cool. That's fantastic. And just the pusher here. Grinding it back. Where are we at? 12 effective here. Verse reg. Yeah, let's just take the spot here. Let's take the pusher. 3x multiplier verse reg push fold. Okay. We've done the science on the offsuit kings yesterday as well in limped pots. We are going to lead this turn, and we're going to bluff the river as well. We're going to lead the turn, and we're going to bluff the river. We're going to bluff the river. Chat, wish me luck. Woo! We have been playing a really, really spicy game today, and it's gonna look good. It's gonna look good in the graph. We have been playing a spicy game, and it's going to look good on Le Graph. All right. Is it even possible to lose from here? He's still going to call us with king high some of the time. Can we catch him with a king high? Thank you, babe. We can't afford plates. We can't afford plates. Ruthie, how did the chicken turn out? Wait, trap. Trap of the century. Oh, perfect. Well, hello. Winning a flip. I like that. That's fun. All right. I'm going to go out on a limb, guys. I'm just going to say it. Today we're cooking. We are cooking so far today. In the EV department, I should say. I don't know where we're at money-wise yet because I don't want to focus on that anymore. Today and this year and every day of this year, I want it to be all about that EV grind. I want it to be all about that sweet, sweet, sweet EV grind. Restream. It tries again. No, I'm not going to play this pot. Thank you. Oh, wait. Why is it called that? Titles are correct, aren't they? I think Restream is just confused. Yeah, correct. Okay, that's fine. Simplify. Running into 10s here. We're always going to bust the 7s versus 10s, so this is kind of not that important. Obviously, it's a gross spot EV-wise, but not one that we worry about because it's going to happen every time. The only thing you might say there is because it was a 3x and not a 2x, and because it was 2 unknown players, we should probably play it as a min-raise more often because we will do better in position. But that's an example of a deviation that is higher value, right? So if we deviate in this spot, ace 9, ace 10 is the push. If we deviate there and play from position, the amount that we win is much more than if we deviate blind v blind because playing from out of position is always bad against any opponent. It can be slightly better against some. QB says, sorry, I was calling for a 7. I was too. I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. You can't scare me. Can't scare me. Nope, we don't want that part. It's Control Z. That's the better metric. I wonder if I can turn that back on. Yeah, having control from both is better. Cool. What? Are you guys seeing this with branding that says Restream? There's no Restream. No, it's not going out. Maybe on YouTube. Oh no, it's not showing. Okay, cool. I thought the Restream was showing. I thought Restream was showing a thumb watermark. Cool. Don't need that. That's fine. All right. We'll see if Restream gives me the proper output. He's all in. All right. How do we behave in these pots? We've done some work on this yesterday, didn't we, guys? We've done a little work on the sizing here. We've done a little work on the sizing. I think we're probably going to have to kind of just go for it here, gang. He might have a 7. He might have a 7. Okay. You are supposed to lead that turn a lot of the time. It is quite a frequent lead. There's just not a lot that pays us on that river if we shove, right? I'm not saying he has to have a queen or a 7, but like it's not like there's like misdraws. If the river is like a straight draw or like a straight draw that might have become a pair that might still hero call, then you can shove, but and this is one of the trappers for sure. Sometimes this player gets roped into us as well. No chop. All right, fold the 8-5. 10 in a tray. Queen 10. We're going to raise this some of the time. We're going to want to bet this turn, though. Let's go for that. And do we commit here? Check flop, call turn. No. This is not one of those spots. In fact, running 6s could be particularly bad for us here. Check raise is not a thing. This is not the combo. This is not the combo. I think this one is too wide. I think this guy is possibly a reg. We don't actually have any other additional notes on here. I'm going to take this label off. I actually don't know what that's about. King 8's good to call it here. Wish me luck. Unlucky on the 10 there. 9? Nice answer. All right, cool. Next game. Next game, next game, next game. Yeah, I don't know why I had this guy marked in yellow. There might have been a good reason for it, but when I don't take the note, that's unusual. Usually I've got my stupid notes in there somewhere. Trap check. You know it's always coming 7 except when it don't. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So queen 4 of clubs at 8 big blinds is a push but not a call. It's definitely a push. It's a push from much more than 8 big blinds. I think it might just be within a Nash call, if I remember correctly. It might just be within a Nash call. I actually can't remember the exact number, but it's close enough that I want to probably just avoid it altogether. It's close enough that I probably just want to avoid it. We are going to bluff this river now. We are going to bluff this river. I think he might have a 9. I don't think this is how he plays the clubs. Wish me luck. Nice. He obviously had some showdown. The only other thing that he might play that way is like if he thinks that we might have missed the clubs and he's just trying to get the cheapest bluff. Now, how does he respond on the turn? Oh, he checks, okay. Now, within a mid-raised pot, the 4, 5, 6, the 8 probably isn't there as often, so the bluff is maybe more effective. Although we have quite a significant amount of showdown here. I'm going to do the bluff anyway. Nice. I think that, if we can get some pairs between the king and the, like the 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, if we can get those to fold on that river, which I think we probably can quite often, that's probably a really nice spot to do. I don't know if this is how he would play a 4. I don't think this is how he would play a 4. He could have a jack. He could have a jack, but this doesn't feel quite right. I could get this one wrong. Okay, wish me luck. Yeah. The random jack peel might be a thing, but he doesn't play a 4 that way. And therefore, I think we do fine because he'll have missed straight draws and flush draws that he does the same thing with. We will note something here, though, as well. That's annoying. Bad spot for the king 8. It's a long note, but there's something here, right? The pattern of float, lead half, that's definitely something that might become a sizing tell later, right? We need to play a lot more before we can figure out if that's true, but jack high float on 4-4 deuce is already kind of weird. I don't really think there's much merit in floating jack 7 with no other backdoors. This is the spot that we're talking about here. So this spot here, I don't think this is how he plays a 4 because if you're the kind of player that's if you're the player that flats a 4 to be deceptive, you're anticipating your opponent to put more chips in for you, right? So if I bet deuce 5 on this flop, and my opponent has a 4 and they call, why would they? They're telling two conflicting stories. What they're saying is, I have a 4, I don't have a 4, I don't have a 4, and then they're like, oh, by the way, I'm going to start barreling into you, I'm going to lead, which is like obviously like universally more of a stronger line. So when we find the lead on the turn, I think this is way more often like miss spades, miss straight draw. it can be a random jack, but it's very unusual for a jack to be like a significant card here because our opponent can have like queen jack, but at this stack depth, there's a fair amount of his stronger jack X that wants to play aggressively, right? So once we limp here at 14, like queen jack suited technically is always meant to be a raise, like ace jack, obviously king jack, all of these like confident jacks are going to be raised. There's going to be lots of random jacks, but also random jacks aren't supposed to be floating this flop, right? On 4 deuce 4, if we were to look this up, in fact, let's add this to our review patch. So we had 4 deuce. This is the spot. We'll review it, but I'm confident in saying that you're not supposed to be floating here with high cards apart from maybe king or ace, and almost all of the ace combos are going to be all in pre-flop, and a very significant amount of the king X combos as well, right? And so once we get to this point, once we get to this stage, the float is like very confusing because it will be a deuce, but if you're concerned about the strength of your deuce, you don't lead. If you have a 4 and you're flatting for deception, you don't lead. So suddenly the only hand that really makes any sense here is a random jack, and there's not really a ton of random jacks that make sense apart from like literally jack 3 of spades or something like that, right? A flush draw with the jack. So half pot here. This is a pattern that I definitely think is going to have way more bluffs than it will have value. And if we think about the hands that we think have value, they're just not in there as often, right? So on the river, when we call here, we need to be confident that he's not going to have 4 that often, which we are. We need to be confident that he will have other missed draws, which there are plenty, especially in a limped pot. And we need to be confident that the jack is not relevant enough for us to be concerned. Like, if the turn is a 6 and he leads, or the turn is a 5 and he leads, there are way more turned straight draws that become a better 2-pair than we have here. So when you break it down, like, he's got fucking random jack 7. Like, good luck, mate. This is like no hand. This is not a float. If you start floating with queen high or king high here, that probably seems closer to like GTO. But we'll mark it for review. We'll take a look at this because I want to confirm that thought process is accurate, right? If the turn is a king, or the turn is an ace, or the turn is even a queen, those are more relevant over cards, and we have probably more concern over those than the jack here. There's only so many jack X of spades combos that he can have, right? Because queen jack of spades would have been raised pre-flop, king jack of spades would have been raised pre-flop, ace jack of spades would have been raised pre-flop. So suddenly, like, the number of like reasonable jack high flush draws is diminished massively. Even jack 10 suited, even jack 9 suited is going to go in there sometimes. So how many combos is that? Jack 9 is going to be fine jack. So jack 8 of spades. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. That is 7 combinations exactly of a jack high flush draw, right? Jack 7, if you start to include jack 7 offsuit, he's going to have jacks way more often, but it's just not logical. And this isn't a pattern that people will have regardless of reg. Way less as a reg, slightly more as a recreational, but that makes our bet and our call on the flop even better, right? So yeah, this is going to be fine. Like, I think I don't feel bad about this spot, and that's kind of the important thing. If we can review a spot like this and just like literally knock down the entire argument that he has a jack, and we know that he pretty much never has a 4, then obviously this ends up being like an overwhelmingly positive call, because there's going to be way more combinations of missed flush draw and straight draw combined than there will be combinations of jack X that makes sense. So this is good. Okay, cool. So we marked that one for review. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Next game. QB says he doesn't play a 4 that way. So yeah, I mean that's important though, right? If we call and he turns up with a 4, then obviously we're making a much bigger mistake, because he's playing a hand that is almost never played that way in an unconventional fashion, and therefore we're getting cooked, right? If he has the 4 there as often as he has like a random jack, then he's gonna be. It's not a positive call anymore. It's not a plus EV move anymore. Against the unknown player, I'm going to take out the weakest aces. And then against Sir Blackroll, we're just going to simplify to the push here. King 8's not quite. Do 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 do. The other thing is he's not going to play a better deuce like that as well. I guess that's just one more additional comment. If he's concerned about the deuce, and he's only going to flat the flop and not check raise, for example, like he's not going to lead half pot lead with the deuce ever, basically. And then where are we at with this hand? Okay. There's not a situation there where we end up being outkicked by a deuce, which is another negative. Sir Blackwell with the very, very, very ambitious non-all-in check raise at 12 effective, which I don't think is a thing. That means he's got me marked as a fish. Oh, I see what you did there, QB. Sorry. He doesn't play a 4 that way, so therefore... Perfect. Perfect. I'm a fish. Sorry. Jack 10 of clubs, monstrous here. No good. Ace 10 of clubs, monstrous here. Are you guys hearing table sounds, by the way? Like they won't be loud, but like you're hearing when the chips click in, right? That should still be activated somewhere. Stars audio. It should be going out. It might be very, very quiet, but it should be going out. Sir Blackroll. Sir Blockham's Rollington. This is exactly the 3x ISO. We will call a shove if we need to. Okay. Little deception. Jeffrey, 50, 2x is the smallest we play for. We're playing 25, so 50 is the smallest. We're calling the river, of course, no matter what. Mr. Blackroll. Mr. Blackroll, I don't know if that was respectful. I don't know if that was respectful, sir. Mr. Blackroll. I don't know if that was a particularly respectful move. I think that shows a severe disrespect for my game. Not unless you guys don't hear any table sounds. Yeah, that's weird. It looks like it says it's going out like this. So listen. It's going to be dead quiet. Mr. Blackroll. Let me turn it up a little bit. One sec. Okay. This isn't going to be often enough. Eight tray seven deuce. Eight tray seven deuce. Eight tray seven deuce. Interesting spot. Interesting. Really interesting spot now. Mark that one for review. I'm pretty sure we lead. I'm almost positive that's a lead. However, I want to confirm that we're supposed to. I mean, we're probably not supposed to fold, to be honest. That is problematic. So on the turn. On the turn. If he's got a flush, he's got a flush. That's not something where that. I think diamonds aren't there as often. Can still call us with a 3 or a 7 here. Or even a deuce. Mr. Black Roll. I kind of respect the call there as well. I think that's fine. It's a very, very, very specifically weird spot, and we're capped in all kinds of funny ways there. Just so happens we have the top of our range. If I put my head next to the phone, I hear it. Okay, now it's okay. Now it's louder. You should hear it, right? That should be a lot more, a lot better. Let's go. $75. Not too shabby. Mr. Black Roll. It's a black roll. If you would. All right, we'll start with one of these. And we'll hit him with one of these. Trap check. And we river the set of queens. Yeah, 6-7 QB, that's kind of my thought process. That's like the stuff that we beat. We're also going to beat like 10-9 as well. We're also going to beat like 10-9 as well. 0% with queens feels bad. Oh, we got queens again. Same position. Marcos Toga. Marcos Toga. Marcos. The ace tray shove is fine, by the way. That's totally cool. Just unlucky that you're running an ace king there. Cool. I mean, so far so good, guys. I feel like we've had some interesting spots. You know, we've got there's been a couple spots that are. There's been some spots where we've called and been wrong, obviously, but I think that they're kind of like strategy justified. I have the vibe that today's session has been very, very solid so far, and that's always a good feeling because that means probably we're doing a lot of what's right, even if it's not changed in the universe right now and moving mountains profit wise. I think we're playing a good game here. We pick up additional equity on the turn here. And I wonder if now we are going to do this. This allows us to bluff on the river. In fact, let's go ahead and do something like this. Like we really want to get some of that 7x, 6x to fold. If they have clubs and they miss, we want to blast off again on the river, especially if it's a river that gives them a pair with their flush draw or whatever. Yeah, they do add up, Tom. If you're winning spins, that's the thing. Like when you're bombing spins, it's awful. Like you can just lose so many in a row. But when you do get a hot streak, if you are hitting reasonably like balanced, like 3x's, 4x's, 5x's, it can also go up really quick. I mean, yesterday was a great example. We were up like $500, like pretty much immediately. So this is going to be. That's weird. It was at 3. We're gonna raise to. Gonna do this. Mustafa was punting apparently. Got a serious note about that. Hey, Full Spin Poker, what's up? If you guys want to follow a true legend of Spin and Go, Full Spin Poker here in the chat. In fact, I was wearing my shirt yesterday. I'm not wearing it today. Full Spin Poker very kindly made me some cool merch. I've got a black one and a white one. My guy plays a lot of Spin and Goes out in IT. I'm going to put in half this guy's stack just to be a total jerk here. Just to be a complete jerk. And we're going to go broke on any flop. On any flop. On any flop. Think about how much additional value we extract by playing our hand like a goofball there. Like every time we can convince a player to put in half their stack with like ATC and then assume that we're like play it in the same fashion as though it was an all-in. This will be an all-in here too. Put in half your stack, and then we'll play as though it was an all-in the first place, right? Beautiful. That is a redonkulous exploit that should never be a thing, but it absolutely works. Yeah, 10-7 approved. You got Zhao over here, fucking top reg. Top reg. He's not going to miss that spot. We win the all-in, which is nice too. All right, cool. Keep it going. More spins, please. Don't recognize these players. All right, guys. So we'll play until 4 o'clock today, and then I will do a very quick review. So far, we've only got a few hands marked. Got 3 hands marked today instead. We did like a bunch yesterday. A couple really interesting ones too. That 5 deuce spot I think is super interesting to look at because, again, like the solve is not going to be representative of the player at all. But that's an important thing to note. Unknown player in the big blind. We're going to play any 2 here. We're going to play ATC and see what we can get away with here. We can fold to a full pot against this guy. If we're gonna get mixed up with like really wide ranges, we want to be way more willing to give up in those spots. Lawler says Nick Walsh, professional haircut enjoyer. Thank you. I've never been a big haircutter person. I've never been a big I've never stayed on top of my haircuts very well. I think my current guy does a really good job, though. All right, we have a 9. Lucian starts betting full pot here. Honestly, it's probably just not worth our time, even though that could just be the way he bluffs. Queen 9 here. 2 unknowns. Yeah, let's sneak in here with the Queen 9. We spike a 9. This is a much stronger holding. Can't fold yet. Would love to just spike a queen on this turn. Don't have a 10. Don't have a 10. Don't have a 10. Don't have a 10. Oh, so nasty. Yeah, this to me feels very strong. This to me feels maybe this. I don't think this is how this guy bluffs. So in that case, we probably can't win. Nice answer. Blinds are up. 6 bigs. King, queen. If you guys don't follow Full Spin Poker, go give him a look. He makes lots of content in the Spin and Go verse. We won't be folding ace-8. We won't be doing it. Wish me luck. Ocho. Any choppers? I forgot about my hotkeys. I had an idea about the hotkeys as well, guys. Think you're going to like it. I ordered something today. So technically this is close. I'm gonna take a lot out against the unknown player there. I'm gonna take out a lot of those calls. I'm defaulting to my traditional methods here. Oh, it's a nice treat. Straight me up. Let's go. Another chopper, but it's not a loss. The cut looks good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love to bet all but one of the chips. It's great how often they call and how often they fold. Exactly. It is. There's a mental thing there. There is a mental leak there that people definitely have a thing about. I'm going to fold the 9 deuce of hearts here. The effective stack is really, really small to have the absolute bottom there. And I might even try and get away with just flatting this. Set mine. Gone. Give me the deuce. I deserve that deuce. I deserve that deuce so hard. I think that spot earlier when we had Queen 9 versus on the king paired board and he raised the river. It's an interesting one because I don't anticipate him to have a lot of random bluffs there, but also the way I played the hand is fairly exploitable. Like we're not playing our hand in a reasonably strong way. Hey, Jakers, thank you for the sub. We'll take a look in just a moment, Jakers. We're gonna do some review in about 25 minutes time. First of all, the way that he sizes it is not the kind of way that people panic and bluff, right? It was very measured size. Definitely was like trying to get value for his hand. Definitely felt like he was trying to get val. Full Spin Poker says, how do you feel in these stakes? Fine. Yeah, fine. I mean, I think it's worth remembering as well, buddy. I used to play hundreds. Like, the decision to play $10 stakes for the 50K challenge was just to try out the new format and just like, you know, see what the variance was like, whatever. I don't feel uncomfortable playing high stake spins. I've played a lot of volume at the 50s and 100s, and against, you know, when I was playing full time, like I was playing 50s and 100s in, you know, 4 tabling 50s and 100s. It's a different time. It's definitely a different kind of time. Nice. There we go. That's a line we can get behind, right, guys? That is a line that we can get behind. So How do I feel at these stakes now? I feel good. I feel confident, especially as we did a lot of work in the more hyper variants before. So I feel good about playing these in the new merge player pool. So in that sense, I feel good. I feel pretty confident now because we put in that hard work for the challenge, playing the merge format. However, playing 25s, playing these stakes, like the actual money is not an issue. The variance is going to be tough at times. We're definitely going to end up punting a lot of cash here. Don't get me wrong, but you know. Yeah, we got to call any 2 cards here. Actually, 4-3 of diamonds is quite a nice one to wake up with. Running into 9's not so good. But yeah, like as a player, happy to play very high stakes spinning goes. A lot of people also misunderstanding, like full spin poker will appreciate this of all people, but a lot of players would ask me, like, what kind of stakes do you play in spins? And I'd say, like, oh, I'm currently playing the 25s or the 50s or whatever it was. And they're like, oh, so, like, you know, do you plan on playing high stakes ever? And you're like, you're like, dude, you got to be kidding me. Like playing $25 stakes or $50 stakes. The problem is that they're comparing that stake to like tournament players. They're like, if you're playing $25 tournaments online, like absolutely you can play tons of volume. You can play more volume than most live players will play in their lifetime, like no problem, right, online. But they're thinking, oh, I have a friend and he plays poker professionally and he plays like up to 5K buy-ins. But you can't compare the two at all. Like if you have somebody playing live tournament poker at 5K, like a spin and go player can smash like the kind of volume that they play in terms of dollars gambled, like in a blink by comparison. The 10s are definitely a really good gym. Absolutely, yeah. Jake is asking, is the EV much lower in the 25s? Probably a low sample. So for me personally, I don't have a big enough sample in the merge player pool to say anything decisively. The numbers that I've seen from some of my friends who have played a lot of volume is that, yeah, the overall expectation is going to be slightly less than the 10s in terms of like pre-rake back edge. But we're off to a flyer this year. We're actually playing really well so far. We're doing really well so far. Can I get a little 6-5? We're not folding yet. Straight draw on the turn. Interesting turn shove. Thank you very much for the follow. We are definitely going to be beating some bluffs. Is this how they play a jack? I don't know. That's a good question. Should we gamble? Wish me luck. Nice hands, sir. Nice hands. We're going to want to note down the line because, of course, like a lot of players will not play top pair as a bet small shove turn, right? But if they do, that's okay because it's something that's going to come up in other parts of their game. Limp pot, BVB, bet small, jack 6 tray, huge overbet shove turn was top pair shit kicker. Yeah, and look, in this spot, your opponents are going to turn up with, like, bluffs on the flop that became a straight draw on the turn, like a random 5. They're going to have clubs. They will have some random air. Of course, we should always give them credit for that. They're going to have a jack once in a while. I would say for the most part, though, most people with a jack are going to tend to just bet, right? In which case it would be bet, call, because we have too much equity to want to fold. Part of the problem and part of the benefit of this turn call is that we always have a draw. So sometimes we will have the best hand with the best draw. Sometimes we will be like the best hand against a draw. The problem is that we don't have a great kicker with our 6. So sometimes people will play like king 6 like this or queen 6 like this as well, which is obviously not good for us, but we always have some equity. So we lose about 80% of that pot in chips, basically. I think, if you're in a different mood, might even want to just randomize that one completely. That's something I should get in the habit of doing more often, like randomizing those closer calls. And not all in here. King of Poker. Mark that one for review as well. No, actually. It feels so awful folding 6-5 suited, but I'm almost positive that the cutoff is 6-7. 6-7! All right. We flopped 2 pair. We're going broke. Here is a spot where King of Poker should absolutely blast the fuck off. Not a good turn. It's a particularly bad turn, in fact. We will be calling a shove, of course. I think it's a turn we want to bet pretty big, though, because, you know, obviously there will be kind of like 1 pair straight draw hands. Straight draw, just bare straight draws as well. And we'll just keep this one nice and balanced as a push. Thank you very much for the follow. That was Royal Straight Quads. Great name. What's up? What is up, dude? All right, 7-5. Let's see if we can take a flop here. I don't know this guy at all. So the heads up, you know, we're going to start adjusting immediately for players that we don't recognize. Can't do nothing here. Just a push. That's right, 6-7. Okay, it's gonna be 6 dead. Let's play our hand like this instead. Oh, that is a really, really, really nice hand, bro. All right, so I like the push here. Let's talk about this a little bit before we move on, because obviously that sucks, but this is quite a specific spot. So Jack 8 is a straight that completely makes sense. Jack 8's totally reasonable. King Jack at this stack depth doesn't exist even against unknown players. Oh, stupid. Button keeps going missing. God damn it. So, first and foremost, our opponent is not going to have that many strong queens because at this specific stack depth, we get to 10 big blinds effective. At this stack depth, right, we've limped. A lot of the strong queen X is going to be raised pre-flop. So again, we're going to have the best hand with top pair, like tons and tons. That's just true of any hand. That's not even just. It's even more true in situations like this with when we're playing heads up. This guy is an unknown player, so he's not always going to play by the rules, but this is still relevant because even players that aren't playing GTO or they're not studied will still have reasonable human patterns of behavior where strong hands want to go in. King Queen doesn't exist. Queen Jack probably doesn't exist. Ace Queen definitely doesn't exist. So when we get to the turn, having top pair is more relevant than it would be otherwise. Having top pair on the turn is going to be the best hand here a monstrous amount of the time anyway. So once we end up on this check spot, on the turn, I think we end up like losing a chunk here anyway, right? Even if we bet flop, we might get check raise, whatever. It's still going to be a weird one. The only way that we get away is if he check raises big on the flop and we fold. But anyway, that's fine. We played our hand as a check. Once we arrive here on the turn and we see a big lead, this will be straight draws. This will be flush draws. This will be like 10x. There's a lot of hands that want to lead like this, and a ton of them are going to be bluffs, right? But also, let's say that he does have a hand like 8-9, or he has a hand like King 10, or he has a hand like Jack 10. Jack 10 is reasonable. If he has Jack 9, he'll have Jack 10. Once we get to this turn, there's a lot of reasons for us to want to deny equity. We have 9 big blinds behind. There's 2 in the middle. So by the time we put 2 in there, there's already 6 dead, and we end up having 7 behind. We have about pot. If we call, which we can do, and we allow a spade to fall, right? That's for free. If we don't get it in now, we might lose value from a 10 that might slow down on a later street as well. So overall, I think the jam here is really cool because we're just going to be winning a lot. But I also think that if we have a jam here, we can also play our bluffs, our straight draws in a similar fashion, and that might be quite powerful. I don't know if that's true. I think a lot of our draws we probably just bet flop with. In any case, I think that this is more of an exploit to be called by worse or to punish draws that don't want to fold than it is to do with trying to turn balance our bluffs. But as we arrive here, we decide to push and we run into literally the turn straight with the spades. Like, I think that's a nice hand, buddy. It's a nice hand, and that's the outlier case. Sorry, the other thing I wanted to mention is King Jack is also a hand that wants to be played more aggressively. So the top end of the turn straight is also not going to be in there as often. What's up, Stan? Good to see you, buddy. It's Stranky as well. Good old Strankster. Goddamn Strankster and the king of poker. But yeah, it's an interesting one. The SPR is specific there. If we're deeper, like you're never just going to want to rip a queen X on the turn, right? But the opportunity to get a loose call from a draw or from a second pair or third pair there is like pretty cool. Denying equity is fucking cool, especially when we've got like 1 pot behind. I like it. I like it a lot. That's another spot that again is just not great for EV. In fact, it's awful for EV, but it's good for EV range versus range. It's important that we can discount a significant amount of the strength there too, right? When we have a queen, it's harder for him to have 2 pairs. Given the preflop action, he's not going to have as many strong queens either. Given the preflop action, he's not going to have the king jack. So the jack 8 straight is like, nice hand, sir. Having jack 8 of spades specifically is like, this is your pot. You deserve to win this one. All right, cool. So about 10 more minutes, guys, maybe 1 or 2 more games, and then we'll do some review. Nice short 2-hour stream today just to get some more volume on the books. This game is boring. 2 regs, 2 yellow players, 2 confirmed yellows, just like not ideal. Two confirmed yellow bad boys. We're never going to win much, especially in a 2x multiplier here, where there's so little EV to be won against these two. We might win 1 or 2 chips on average. Ten of the diamonds, definitely a call. It's the diamonds anyway. Give him the old Strag. Give him the Chris Stragalis. All right, 1 or 2 more games, guys. I think it's probably safe to say this guy is a probable reg. Seem to be playing okay. Do you know what? Let's just give it a little bit more time. All in. All right, King 4 no. Oh, the king of poker. How am I supposed to beat the king of poker? Nice. Oh, I hit the leaderboard again, guys. 30 bucks. That's 3 days in a row on the spin leaderboard. Not quite there. That is 3 days in a row on the spin and go spin live leaderboards, guys. Straight draw. Straight draw. 4 is also good. Yeah, we're almost done, Dankel. We're gonna play like maybe one more after this. This time we are gonna play it as an ISO. We're gonna play one more after this, and then we're gonna do a little bit of review. Not as much as yesterday. I know that was kind of long. I thought it was still very rewarding, though. I felt my poker brain activated. I felt very activated in that poker brain. 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5. Do we have like a really, really weird double gut shot? McCoy says, NickWalshTV, interesting that your PokerStars spins are 15 big blinds and PokerStars spins are 25. Feels like 25 gives you a lot more room to play it. That is absolutely true, McCoy. That is absolutely true. So I'm not sure where you're playing from. I'm assuming you're still in the States. Maybe you're playing from an American state. But we are playing on what's called the merged player pool. So we are currently playing where the 2x's and the 3x's, the 4x, basically the lower the multiplier, the faster the game. That is absolutely gross. We have a 6 in our hand as well. Particularly unlucky blocking the actual flop straight there, but we're going to get that money in. Let's mark that one for review again. We've had like 2 or 3 of these lead pots, and I think it's fine. I think it's good. But that time we definitely are not going to lead fold. Never, ever, ever. Running into a flop straight is just like whatever. Yeah, McCoy, that is absolutely true. It used to be the case that you could choose to play 25 big blinds deep or 15 big blinds deep, and they were separate. It was spin and go flash or regular spin and goes. The new merged player pool is the lower the multiplier, the faster the game. 25 big blinds deep gives you mountains of play. I really, really prefer traditional reg speed. But this is where we're at right now. I'm playing on PokerStars.com. I'm playing in the UK player pool or the European player pool, depending on how you say it. Let's get into our final game, guys. Couple unlucky spots there at the end. It's going to cost us EV, but that's okay. That's all part of the game. Again, all fairly kind of standard spots. When you get shoved on there, you're not loving life, but the cool thing is when you have the pair and the gut shot, if they have aces, you still have mountains of equity. You have the 2 pairs and you have the gut shot. Sometimes they'll shove worse as well, which of course is part of the equation, but this is fine. And I think the lead call is GTO against a reg. Let's not bring that up anymore. All right, I don't think I know this guy. Okay, I think we're going to start bluffing here. We can definitely get some 6, 7, 8, 9 to fold. So let's go ahead and just try and apply as much pressure as possible. 9s will be non-all in, and we're going to probably make this, where are we at? This will be a straight 4.5, I think. Once we see that king, we're not loving life. We are not loving life, but we're going to have a bet. Our hand still requires a little bit of protection. This is not the worst start. Okay. pair and straight draw, still not folding. Min-raise pots, and our opponent donks, donks, donks. Really? What the hell is this? We min-raised and then he donks 3 times? Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, so this is a min-raise pot. He misses the flop, he misses the turn, and he bets full pot on the river. Again, this is really unusual pattern here. Okay, fine. The way that we approach these spots has got to be player-specific, and I think player-specific-wise, this stat feels really bad. If he's bluffing, he just bluffs flop way more often. And if anything, he can still value bet a jack on that river. Fair enough. Queen high call on the turn. We have mountains of equity when we shove there, not including our fold equity. All right, let's play one more. That was a gross game for us. The queen 10 spot is fucked up, man. That's a brutal spot. It's very hard for us to be winning, I think. Like, we're beating Miss Diamonds. We're blocking 9-10. We're blocking ace-10. Ace-10 doesn't really exist anyway. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think probably it is a very, very sad fold. Whoa, what's going on here? What's going on? What the hell? Hello? That was weird. They were going for 3 sheets of value with King Jack. That probably makes most sense, to be honest. Can we win a flip? Yeah, McCoy. Yeah, enjoy the 25 big blinds, buddy. I'm very jealous. I really, really like the traditional structure, if that's the word. I'm a $50 spin regs in the States 2026. I've noticed so many more donk bets, C bets at 100% pot size in the flop weird times. Yeah, I mean, look, it's I think most people misapply them. I'm not a particularly super genius at donk betting, but I'm pretty sure that the ones we've done today I think are fine. We have a couple marked for review. We'll do in a sec. Yeah, let's play one more. It's a bit of an annoying finish today, guys. We actually ended up getting a couple pretty ugly spots, EV-wise. But again, all pretty, like, I think all reasonable spots. Not every spot. We can't make every spot a profitable EV situation. The Queen 10 is just going to cost us half a stack in cold blood. It's going to be awful red line, right? I see no reason to raise the flop or the turn, and I can't see us ever folding. So, anyway, this is a 1-2-5. Let's see if we can win the big one here. Shoving into Zell here feels good at ace-8. I don't know, like the kinds of players that donk lead a flush draw there as well. We had a diamond in our hand, which is relevant. The kind of players that donk lead diamonds also tend to like just give up on that river quite often as well, because like we've already raised pre-flop, right? We've shown that we have a strong range, so they might donk lead to try and control the pot or take it away, but on the river they give up a bunch. So I think the fold is probably right. I think we actually have to commit to this one now. So we're going to make this 3 to go. And I'm just going to lean into it now, guys. I'm going to go for it. So we go 33% on the turn. I'm going to shove the river now as well. Nice. Queen 4. This actually should have been a larger raise. That's a mistake, but that's okay. Let's win the 5x to finish. That'd be cool. McCoy says, yeah, I'm trying to study spots where there are donk betting min on the flop with 40% donking. It's like, how often do you raise the donk and the sizing of that raise? It's not very studied. Yeah, a lot of people aren't doing it well. I mean, most people who are donking are just like not doing it correctly, like at all, right? They call it a donk bet for a reason, right? For a long, like the term comes from like back in the day when it would just be like nobody ever thought you should ever be leading, right? The idea was I'm never supposed to lead. This is a call, guys. Wish me luck. The idea being like I'm never supposed to lead. I'm always supposed to check to the razor. Can we win the flip for the 1-2-5, please? We'll double check this one, guys, but I'm 99% sure it's a call. This one should just be a push. But yeah, so like, you know, it's called a donk bet because traditionally only donks used to lead. Now, obviously, we know it's a thing. It's, you know, it can be part of a good strategy. Because the problem is that the way that people respond to donk bets is so weird that doing it correctly can be very difficult because some players see a donk bet and they pounce on it because they think it's always weak. Some players see a donk bet and they think it's always strong. So it's difficult to know how to play against. Even like good players will have different opinions on that. Even like bad players even more will have like a much more skewed idea about what a donk bet is and like how to respond to it. So it's just like a whole bunch of other spots to potentially get wrong when you don't necessarily even need to have them. Like to be optimal, you need them, but if trying to be optimal means opening yourself up to being exploited, then you play badly on a later street, then you probably shouldn't. So it's a tricky one. Anyway, unlucky there in the 1-2-5. It was obviously just came down to that flip. That was the important one. So let's go ahead and do some review. Cool. Let's do it. All right, so today, guys, this is the EV graph. We are definitely putting in some good sessions so far. This one was not nearly as nice as yesterday. We managed to lose a decent amount of EV there at the end, partially just cold decks and whatever, but then also, you know, I think a fair amount of like very reasonable calls that are going to be good against range, but they, you know, running into big hands, that kind of thing. But I'm pleased to see. Thank you, Poker Player, for the follow. Where have you been, you butthead? Welcome. So I'm pleased to see the red line is doing okay. And actually, that's probably a symptom of the fact that we're pretty switched on. We've gone into the last 3 sessions, which are the first 3 of this year, pretty healthy, feeling pretty good, feeling sprightly, been doing some breathing, been doing some mindfulness, been doing some Shakti, all that kind of stuff. I'm feeling good about the way we're playing right now. And even the spots where we're losing EV, I still feel very justified in that they were very good hands of poker, right? Like solid against range, solid against player profile, justifiably wrong, if that makes sense, right? Which is going to cost us EV, but I think long term that's why we're winning, right? This is good. I'm feeling good about where we're at right now. Let's take a look at the overall stats. So at the moment, winning 34 chips per game. I don't think that's going to be sustainable. Obviously we had a massive upswing here. We want more like that, but anything above 20 chips per game would be super excellent at the 20s, and would mean that after rewards we have a pretty significant edge. So let's take a look at marked hands here. We've got a couple really interesting ones. First and foremost, we had this spot. There was a raise. I wanted to look at this pre-flop because we decided to call. And also, we're going to look at this post-flop too, because remember, the conversation here was that my opponent bet full pot. How often are we supposed to be doing this? This is a very good reg. And then I'm assuming that our response should be the push, because when we see the large bet, there's not going to be as much large bet fold. A lot of the large bets will be strong hands and then like significant equity hands that are turned into a bluff to maximize folds from the 7s and the 4s, while also committing the entire stack. So let's take a look at the spot from a GTO perspective. So now, guys, we're going to do some study. I'm turning off PokerStars, okay? So if we make reference to any advanced study material, we're not in breach of TOS. We're never going to use that while we're playing, right? So let's get into it. Hello, Lisa. Mom is in the chat. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Hello, poker player. Thank you very much. Frankster, Happy New Year. What's up? Let's go ahead and fire up GTO Wiz in that case. Got to get logged in. I prefer not to dox myself. That's why I like to do this off stream, off cam. All right, cool. Let's get into it. So, a couple hands for review. This is Aces Blind v Blind. Let's take a look. So first and foremost, how often are we supposed to flat aces? I actually think we probably are supposed to 3-bet and call a little bit. So here you can see we're flatting and calling in a mix. That's fine. The shove is not the response. However, I'm not here to check if I'm perfectly GTO. I'm here to check if our assumptions about ranges are correct, and then we'd make an informed decision against player pool, okay? So when we're looking at this spot, I want to see how often we're supposed to full pot, because that might be the adjustment for the player that full pots, okay? So first of all, how often are we supposed to flat? I think we're actually supposed to be flatting a fair amount. Aces and kings and queens like to call versus steal here. It makes sense, right? Because we're not going to be doing that much raising, right? These are the hands we're supposed to be raising, not all in. And if we have a very limited amount of small 3-betting that we're doing at 15 big blinds effective, then obviously, like, we want to probably have some calls with our strongest stuff, because that just makes sense. It plays better that way, and we're going to be calling with a bunch of weak stuff, and we want our opponent to overreact. So far, so good. This is great. And then when we get to the flop, our opponent bets 4. I don't think 4 is employed that often. Let's take a look. So how often are we supposed to bet 4? This is not happening that often. In fact, I would go so far as to say, if you never bet full pot, if you never ever bet full pot in these situations from this player's position, you would probably do completely fine, okay? It exists at 2.7%. It makes up some very, very specific weird shit. So this is not a thing, and this is part and parcel to why I wanted to look at this. In play, I said something along the lines of, if my opponent is going to full pot here, they're going to full pot with combinations that they want to stack off with, and the flat looks stronger and gives them the opportunity to get away from some of the bluffs that might feel inclined to continue because they might have too much equity. So let's say our opponent is the kind of person that wants to bet like king queen with the king of diamonds super big here. If they do that, then when we're all in, our opponents will go, well, what if he has a flush draw? What if he has a straight draw? I guess I have to call. What if he has a 7? I have too much equity to fold. That kind of thing. That's a very specific spot. I'm not saying that this player plays that way, but this is the mentality of over pot commitment that I've seen, I've witnessed. And therefore, the adjustment to push is going to be probably more appropriate than the alternative. So ignoring the 4, let's say that our opponent decides that they're going to bet 3 instead, right? Now suddenly they're going to have way more combinations of bluff. In fact, we don't even need to change it. Let's just do this. If we look at how often our opponents bets 3, now it's tons of stuff. So the very minor but super significant adjustment to 4 is why I think the shove is going to be superior to 3. And from a theoretical standpoint, you can see that if we're betting 4, the amount that we're allowed to bet 4 is so small theoretically, because we're committing so many more additional big blinds, then betting 3, suddenly our opponent has all kinds of shit that we want to keep in. if they have king 3 over here, if they have king 3 of hearts, we don't want to be ripping over a 3 big blind bet here because we want to keep all this shit in, right? If they have queen 6 of hearts, queen 6 of diamonds, king 9, all this kind of stuff, we want those hands to improve, and our hand doesn't need that much protection on this board, right? So the flat is way better. The adjustment is specifically for 4, and this solve confirms that sort of etiquette, right? So if we're facing a bet of 3, aces is always going to want to call. So this makes perfect sense. Good stuff. So like I said, in the play, I actually said I don't think betting full pot is a thing that often. That is true, but we noticed it and we exploited it. So good stuff. This is why we study, right? To play real players. So we have limped with 5 deuce and our opponent has checked. So this was a really goofy one, guys. If you weren't here to see it, I limps, our opponent checks. We start the hand at around 14 big blinds effective. So we bet the flop, of course. I think we always bet a deuce here. Basically, let's check that in the solve. Once our opponent calls, the jack, in my opinion, is not going to be a card where our opponent improves that often, apart from, I think we counted 7 combinations of jack X of spades that's not raised pre-flop. So I would love to confirm, first of all, do we always bet a deuce? Because I think sometimes we'll check a deuce. I would like to confirm that there is actually very few combinations of jack X that connect with this board from the correct defend versus flop bet range, okay? So once we get here, our opponent leads half, we call because, like I said, I think they're going to have more missed spades and missed straights than anything else. And I also don't think a 4 or a deuce is played in this fashion. We can kind of look that up. That won't be as relevant in this solve because our opponent's not going to be playing GTO, so it doesn't matter. Sorry, we've done this wrong. Copy hand history. I should be better at this. Enter. Oh, enter works. That's cool. It's probably like just a not solve spot because it's so goofy. Yeah, there's no solve for it, but we can still look at what should have happened. It's giving us the tick, which kind of is, it's nice to see, but how relevant it is based on our assessment of the actual reality of it, right? So, okay, first of all, limp is fine. Of course, the limp is going to be we're going to raise this and limp this, and it's going to be a bit of both. That's fine. The bet happens about 50% of the time. So let's take a look at flop small blind. We're going to bet most of our deuces. In this case, this would be bottom pair. Are they counting? Okay, second pair in this case is a deuce. So, yeah, sure enough, like we said, we're not always going to bet a deuce here, but we are going to do it some of the time. In fact, if we filter specifically for that, we're going to bet about 50% of the time. I think betting this against population is going to be better. People massively overfold. They're not going to defend enough. So now going on to the next question. What is our opponent's defend range supposed to look like versus a bet? I don't think it's jack high, no backdoor straight draw, no backdoor flush draw, right? Jack 7 I think is nonsense, but I think that at a guess there's going to be some queen high floats, there's going to be plenty of king high and ace highs. The problem is ace high and king highs are going to be capped. There's not as many of those because of the pre-flop action. So once we see a bet, let's take a look at the defend. How often is our opponent supposed to call here? So, sure enough, there is king high floats, queen high floats, a couple of very outlandish ace high floats. Jack 7 offsuit. Okay, apparently Jack 7 is in there. We are going to be calling 15.3% of the time with Jack 7 offsuit. The problem is, let's take a look at this now. It's the Jack 7s that contain a spade. Now, I don't remember exactly what our opponent's hand was, and I'm not sure if they're thinking at this level. They turned up on the river with Jack 7, no spade, right? Jack 7 offsuit, no backdoor. That was my assessment. I said, there's no chance that Jack high is going to float in this situation without any backdoors. That is absolutely accurate, right? Jack 7 with the 7 of spades, Jack of spades is going to float here, but it's still only happening 15.3% of the time. If we turn this off, Jack 7 is overwhelmingly fold. You're not even supposed to do it all the time with those combos. That's how thin it is. So basically, Jack highs aren't calling at all. So our thought process is correct. The Jack highs that do call are, of course, the ones that have backdoor hearts and spades, right? So Jack 7, for example, here, the ones that play are going to be the flush draw, straight up, and backdoor hearts. We've nailed it, right? We're thinking along the right lines in this situation. The Jack 7 of spades is an obvious one, right? There's no magic in that. The Jack 7 of hearts wants to do more calling, but also has some raises too. That's just kind of how we find these weird check raises, right? If we're going to check raise this board, we want to probably most of the time block 4-5 as a limp and then have some semblance of draw. So I wouldn't be surprised if a hand like 6-5 of hearts is quite a common check raise. Let's double check that, right? This hand is just not, it doesn't exist. Oh, sorry, because it's played differently pre-flop. So how about 5-7 suited, right? There you go. Nailed it, right? 5-7 of hearts is the goofy check raise, right? That's how we find check raises on these boards. We want to block our opponent having the made hand. When we have a 5, our opponents will have fewer suited connectors that have 4-5, for example, or 6-4. That's another good one. And we have straight draws and we have backdoor flush draws. That's a very, very common pattern in GTO. And surprisingly, it will murder people who don't defend often enough. If you're playing against somebody who knows that they want to bet 4-4 deuce often, but is not aware of how aggressively you can check raise and with what combinations, you will run them the fuck over. You will destroy them, right? If they c-bet king 10 here and they don't realize that king 10 is a value bet on this board and not a bluff, you will run them over when you check raise and they give up with, they're going, what if he has a deuce or a 4? I have to hit a king or a 10. Oh, I don't have a flush draw. What if he has a flush draw? Like, you can actually wreck people like that and you can ramp up the variance on these boards a lot. So our assumptions about how this flop is played are spot on correct, like very good. And also, I'm telling you, if you want to float with Jack 7 with the Jack of spades, be my guest, just don't do it, okay? Save yourself the heartbreak. If it's only happening, let's look at what was the call? If it's only happening 15.3% of the time when you have this combo, it's not something you should be doing. Just allow it all together, right? But sure enough, queen high, king high floats, we said that was probably the reasonable high card floats. And so for that reason, I think the rest of the hand just makes a lot of sense, right? The hands that are being check raised here are backdoor flush draws with a 6 or a 5 or wrapped around the 4 or the deuce or the straight draws. That is not a jack. The random jack turn is just not going to be in there. So once we get to this point, if we took a look at, we're in the big blind checks, and then we bet again. Let's assume our opponent doesn't lead here. Like, how often do they actually have a jack? First of all, they're not supposed to be leading at all. We knew that. We've discussed that in play. Like I said, the lead on the turn here is going to be, I want to hit a spade, I want to make a straight draw, but it's not a thing, right? And this is super, super important because, like I said, if our opponent has a 4, they will check raise the flop or they'll play it slow. Check raising the flop is, I want to get more chips in the middle, and they'll pile the money in. Calling on the flop is, I'm trying to be deceptive and I have a 4 and I don't want my opponent to know. So you would never lead. So our opponent never has a 4 in this situation as played, and they end up having all the draws and they end up having very little jack X. So all of our assumptions are very strong on this, in this case, against real world opponents, right? So anyway, let's assume our opponent does check because they're not a crazy person. And we suddenly decide that we're going to continue barreling. Let's say, I don't know, whatever the most reasonable size is. 1.5 makes sense, right? That works. How often does our opponent have a jack? There's all of these suited jacks that are strong and reasonably wrapped around spades and spades and hearts, right? These are the combinations of jack. And like I said in play, it's jack 9 down. It's specific combinations of the spades and it's specific combinations of the backdoor hearts, which don't exist either because my opponent doesn't play that well. The amount of jack X over here is diminished greatly. It is the same percentage of the defense of a random jack of spades with an offsuit 7 or jack with a 7 of spades offsuit, right? It's that percentage of the time it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. The amount of jack X up here is multiplied by the number of combinations they have. In this case, because they're super clever in GTO, they have hearts and spades. But in this case, it just doesn't exist. So all of our assumptions going to this river are super strong. And overwhelmingly, we need to call in this situation, right? That makes me very happy because there's a lot of things that you just go, I assume. And then, I think it's safe to say that we can assume most people are not finding Jack 7 with the Jack of spades calling exactly 15% of the time. It's just stupid, right? It's too much. And also, Our opponent didn't even have that hand. They didn't even have a spade in their hand. So that can't even if they were the god of poker, that's not even what they were doing, right? It's just a pure fold. Nice one. Okay, cool. That's a really good one. That makes me feel great because that was obviously a very expensive pot for us in EV. Limp and a check. So this is interesting. Again, let's go through all the stages. 8 deuce offsuit I know is a hand that we are going to isolate large, and the size we're going to use here is probably about 4 big blinds. 8 deuce off is a trashy hand, but that's how we balance when we're going to do large ISOs with hands like ace king off. This is going to happen. My guess is about 10% of the time. Let's see how close Nick can get to that. Right. I would say about 10% of the time we are going to ISO this hand to 4 big blinds pre. We don't because we rolled really high, so whatever. And I'm trying to figure out how often we're supposed to lead. I think we lead 8 deuce here a lot. And then our opponent shoves on us. I think we ran out of time and we folded, but I think there's a chance we're supposed to be calling. The problem is we don't have a gut shot. We have a weak 8. Once our opponent shoves on us here from a GTO perspective, they're going to have mountains of equity at least, and then often just having a much better hand. So I think there's a chance that we're supposed to lead call with hands like 8-4 and 8-6 and like 8-9. And then stronger 8 combos like a jack 8 or like a queen 8 or something. But I think maybe we're supposed to be folding some. I don't actually know, and I'm not even sure if we're supposed to lead, but let's double check the thought process because that's how we learn. So copy this hand, and let's take a look at the upload here. Go on, give me a tick. Yeah, baby, let's give me a tick. That's nice. Okay, so let's look at the whole spot. First and foremost, am I correct in saying we are going to ISO large with 8 deuce off 10% of the time? If I get that one right, I'll be really happy because I've been studying these ones a lot. So 8 deuce offsuit. Okay, but you can see where my thought process was. 8 tray off is the big ISO. It happens more often because it's 8 tray instead. But okay, cool. The thought process is there. 9 deuce off is like the 12%er. Okay, fine. 9 deuce off is the 7.6%, excuse me. Okay, so you guys see where my head is at. And again, if we are randomizing like that and we're including 8 deuce off instead of 9 deuce off, there's very little difference between the value of these hands. We're just aware that those are combinations that are going to be played that way. And actually having a little bit of variability there might even have some very, very minuscule benefit. But there's no chance that 9 deuce off performs better than 8 deuce off as a large ISO, right? Like let's do the math, right? Let's do compare EV. Let's go best action versus raise to 4. Look at how white these are down here, right, guys? 9 deuce off is going to perform at 0.44 big blinds in EV as a large ISO and exactly the same as a check. And then the 8 deuce off, sorry, we had 9 deuce off, right? I was 8 deuce off. 8 deuce off is almost identical to that. So we lose nothing, but we're aware of the fact we're balancing and we're doing something at a certain frequency so that we can exploit our opponents. If we can win 0.44 big blinds with 8 deuce off 10% of the time, we're massively, massively, massively outperforming that combination, right? Our opponents will en masse limp and then fold to a large ISO way too often, right? And it's so hard to know because people haven't studied it. But if we're doing this and we're doing this at exactly the right frequency, or close to the correct frequency, the difference between us doing with 8 deuce off and 9 deuce off is nothing. It's just important that we're aware that we're supposed to do it with those hands, and we're taking advantage. If we end up doing it more than we're supposed to, that will be better than GTO because we will outperform versus population. Question in the chat. When he jams here from a GTO perspective, surely there's no jams in GTO here. Frank, sorry, I'm going to type, which spots? We'll come back to this, Frank. Let me know which spot you were talking about because we can talk about it on 8 deuce off on 8-7-5. Oh, yeah, good point. Okay, let's take a look at it. That is a great point, and I absolutely see where you're coming from. So let's say that we do lead. First of all, we're looking at the big blind leads, right? So first and foremost, this was our second question, sorry. What hands are we leading? It's going to be a lot of top pairs, and then what hands are we calling with? So pretty much... So our weaker top pairs actually want to lead a little bit more often, and then we're going to do it with a mix with Jack 8, Queen 8. So again, we're kind of in the right headspace. That was what we were thinking. Yeah. Good point, Frank. Great question, mate. Let's talk about it. So, um, we'll take a look at the whole thing. So this was our second question. What are we leading with? 8-6 is in there, 8 deuces off. Okay, cool. This is good. We don't always want to do it, but we're going to do it some of the time. That's worth noting. Once we get here, let's take a look. There is some all-ins. Okay, there are some jams. And actually, no, this is very relevant. This is super relevant, right? So from a GTO perspective, you're right. It's very infrequent, except it's exactly the hands that we were discussing, right? It was strong top pairs. It was over pairs, and then it was also hands like 6-7 where they've got a pair and they've got like a monster draw compared to our lead range, which might be like our lead range probably is also meant to be hands like 6-7. If we go back here, 6-7 by the way. What are we leading as well? What are the other leads? 6-7 will be in there. 6-7's in there. 8-6 is in there. Okay, yeah, right. So we're going to have some of those hands as well that won't want to fold. So the jams do exist, but don't be fooled because there's times when the frequencies indicate something that doesn't happen often. But in this case, it doesn't happen often, but it's done with a very specific range that could be very bad for us. So even though this is only 1.6 of the entire range, it's important that we look at what the hands are because they're hands that make perfect sense to want to get maximum protection, right? It's worth noting that like queens and kings and aces won't be played like that because they're too strong and they require much less protection. But this is worth noting, and actually it is in there. I'm kind of with you, Frank. Like I actually think that during the hand I said like there are certain hands that make sense here at this stack depth. If we are much deeper, then of course not nearly as much. We're going to have not all in raises more often, right? So in this case, we actually do not all in with kings, queens, these hands, right? How much calling? There's actually a fair amount of calling with kings and queens here too. That's funny. But yeah, just generally speaking, being more aggressive here is cool. But it does exist and it is a relevant range. That's important. So then when we look at the calling range, I'm not looking at the screen right now. My guess was that because of the range that we're going to encounter there, some of our weaker 8-8s without the some of our pairs that don't have the additional equity of the draws are going to fold. And we can see 8 deuces in that category. That's actually 100% fold. Let's take a look at top pairs and which ones fold. It is literally just going to be, wow, if Jack 8 is a fold some of the time, I mean, it's going to be a total mix there. If that's the case, it makes sense that we're making the right fold here. So the lead exists at about 50% frequency on the flop, but then facing the jam, like we're going to massively underperform against the shoving range. Yeah, 6-7 poker player, exactly. So yeah, this is good. This is good. That means all of our kind of thoughts and make it's we're getting a lot of the assumptions right, and the assumptions are more important than the output here. If we can identify like a common truth throughout these lines, that is the thing that you'll remember, not the specific spot, right? As long as the thought process is correct, that's what you're going to remember, and that means you'll be able to apply it to more spots rather than parroting off at this exact stack depth. We're supposed to lead 8 deuce off 50% of the time. Like, don't worry about that. We just want to learn the heuristics of it. Right, so are we 3-betting not all into 5 big blinds here? Basically, that's straightforward. In fact, this is just a Nick Walsh TV chart pack moment pre-flop. Let's take a look at this. So we're looking at 3-way in the small blind versus a button min raise, and we're looking at 15. I think we have some 3-bets here. We actually don't have any 5 big blind 3-bets apart from aces and then the balancers. So this was applied misapplied because we're too shallow. We actually shoved the majority of our hands. Against a reg, it probably does matter. Against unknowns, it's better to 3-bet not all in. We should note that as well. Cool. That's pretty straightforward. That's why I marked it, because I couldn't remember again what we were supposed to do there. And then we have Queen Tray. This is a super interesting one, guys. And like I said, I don't think that this is one that's going to be as relevant to GTO because I think it's more of a push from an exploit perspective. But we had a couple assumptions that we want to confirm. Okay, so we limp and our opponent checks back. On the flop, we decide to check. I think maybe we'll do some checking here with Queen Tray. We might always want to bet 10-9-5. So this might be the first point of the first kind of mistake, as it were. As an exploit, though, checking back on these boards is going to outperform against certain player types by a lot. If we have no hand, no equity, if every time we have no hand, no equity, we can check the flop and then bet the turn if they check and win like 80% of the time, that is so much better than exposing money on the flop where our opponent can just have a 9, a 5, a 10. The idea is when we bet, we're either trying to get value or we're trying to get folds. And if we have no hand, no draw, we're trying to get folds. And if our opponent is not going to play an aggressive, out-of-position game, the check, flop, bet, turn, that's called a delayed bet or a delayed C-bet if it's a raised pot, is going to do really well. So as an exploit, I think the check against the unknown player is cool. Once we arrive here and our opponent leads big, theoretically they should have 6-7, they should have 8-9. 8-9, of course, is the turn straight. They should have spade draws. They should technically probably end up having like 8 deuce with the 8 of spades and stuff like that, right? Technically. So on this turn, I decided that I was going to shove because I think it's true that our opponent is not supposed to have queen jack. Sorry, 8-9 is 8-9, 10, no, 8-9, 10, 8. Sorry, 6-7 and 7-8 is the 2 straight draws that I was talking about. 8-9 is there's 9 on the board. I meant the 6-7 straight draw, which is a gut shot, and the 8-9, 7-8, which is the up and down straight draw as well. Sorry. Anyway, I think that by shoving this turn, we get called by worse tens, we get called by spade draws, we get called by straight draws. That's not what GTO will necessarily do, but I think as an exploit on like to push here is better. I think we deny tons of equity because people will probably overfold and they'll probably call too often with draws as well. Anyway, what I want to confirm is my statement on stream was I think it's true to say that our opponents are not supposed to have queen jack that often. They're not supposed to have king queen that often. They're not supposed to have ace queen that often because it went limp check. That is more true of the suited combinations than it is of the unsuited because there's going to be a lot of those. Let's just confirm that first, and then we'll go from there. Bang. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not expecting the all-in to be GTO. That's not what we're looking up. I think I like it, though. But I only like it if we can confirm the first part, right? So limp call is fine. We arrive on this flop. How often are we supposed to be checking? Probably we're doing quite a lot of betting here. 10-9-5. There's quite a lot of checking. Okay, so actually, queen tray off is doing a ton of checking here. Tons and tons. Okay, cool. So queen tray, we'd prefer to be betting with spades, I assume. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Having a spade in our hand is way better. We decide to check because we have no equity, no backdoors. So the thought process is correct. We have a check here a lot of the time. This is very good. We get to the turn, which is a queen, and our opponent decides to lead for 2. Let's confirm if we're right about the leading. Does the leading draw hand? Does the leading range contain the hands we just described? Lead for 2 big blinds is fine. Let's include any sort of a lead. It's going to be 8-4 of spades, right? That makes sense, right? It's going to be 8-3 of spades. There's lots of flush draws. It's going to be 8-7 of spades. It's going to be 8-7 of diamonds. We mentioned this one already, right? It's going to be 8-7 off a lot more because there's loads more combinations of that, especially the 8-6 off. That's the other gut shot that we didn't mention. So there's a lot of stuff here. It's a lot of good stuff. The frequency that they have the strong queen X is what we're trying to look at here, right? So let's take a look at, let's disable these. How much queen X does our opponent have? How much is top pair? So, sure enough, right? Queen Jack offsuit is in there often. Queen Jack suited is actually in there more often than I would have thought. But King Queen doesn't exist. Look at this. King Queen is not part of this range. There are no top pairs that are King Queen. There are no top pairs that are Ace Queen. The strongest Queen X's are out, and therefore they only have some of these sort of Queen 8, Queen 7, these kinds of hands. And that's important because we don't want to shove here if we're going to run into a better top pair often. But we already know that a significant amount of that is taken out. So that's good. That assumption is accurate. Our thought process here makes sense from a theoretical standpoint, right? So that is good. Now, if we turn off... Oh, not turn this one off, sorry. Turn that off, turn this off. So we're back to no filter. Okay, good. So we are correctly identifying that our opponents will lead as a bluff, including some straight draws with the jack as well. We're correctly identifying that our opponent has tons and tons of stuff that is going to be a semi bluff, where they have draws, and they're not going to have as much queen X, and therefore the exploit to push this turn where our opponent will have 10x that shouldn't call that will call, 9x that shouldn't call that will call. Like if they have a hand like 8-9, for example, people will just get excited and call, and because they have a pair and a gut shot. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that that's something we should expect from everyone, but it exists. If our opponent has Jack 9, I wouldn't be surprised if Jack 9 is meant to be a check here more often. Yeah, look, Jack 9 is not a combination that's supposed to be led, but people will, and they will call. So assuming that we've got sort of like the thought process down and there's a lot of sort of truth here, even against inexperienced non-GTO players, I think the exploit to shove performs very well because we're denying a lot of equity from random nonsense, and we're still going to get called by stuff that shouldn't call at a higher rate than GTO would anticipate. Let's say theoretically, though, our opponent leads 2. How often are we supposed to be? I think we obviously just call with our queens, right? Yeah, we just do tons of calling with the queens. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Against this player, in this situation, the exploit is better, though. So I like this. And again, that was cool. We shoved into a straight, so happy days. Anyway, 6-7. 6-7. Sorry, one sec. Where is YouTube chat? Question is, hello, someone knows a video or something where you can configure hand to note to do GG spins, new and spins. Sorry. I'm sure there is. I'm pretty sure that they... I don't know of it, YW, but if you drop me a private message, I'll put you in touch with Team Boss, and they might be able to help you set up your tracker. Okay, Queen Trey is done. Let's take a look at this spot. So 6-7. This is another lead spot. So this is basically the same spot as before. It's slightly different stack depths, but at this stack depth, even more reason to find leads, in my opinion. So we lead, our opponent shoves. I'm pretty sure that in this case we just go broke. Let's take a look. This, unlike the other spot, is the pair plus the gut shot combo. Do we lead? First of all, does that exist? Second of all, do we go broke? I think the answer is almost definitely yes. So let's confirm this one. This one is going to be more, are we playing close to theory is important. Double tick. Okay, easy game. There's not much else to learn, but let's take a look at the whole range. So on the flop, how often do we lead and what does that look like? So we are supposed to donk lead a fair amount here. It's actually a bunch of stuff here. This is funny. This is really cool when you think about it, right? Of course, it's going to be the backdoor flush draws. But when you think about it, when our opponent limps and we end up on this flop, we have so much more of this board than our opponent is theoretically supposed to. Like a lot of their limps are supposed to be high cards over 7-5 tray. They might even be hands like tray or a 5. The cool thing about having leads with this is it means when we lead with top pair, our opponents actually can't give us credit for having a hand that strong as often. So in order to balance the fact that we always lead with every top pair here, we're also supposed to have like 2 overcards, a backdoor straight draw, and a backdoor flush draw. That's very fancy. Like this is actually, there's something here that you can take away immediately, right? When we're shallow heads up and we're here on this board, we can lead with so much pair plus equity, but then also we can lead with hands that will generate tons of folds, and then we probably theoretically can go bust on. Like if we do this with Queen 9 and get raised, I want to see what happens. Let's say that we do lead Queen 9 suited, for example, with hearts or spades, and our opponent raises to 3. Okay, yeah, so those are the folds. Jack 10, it's a small frequency anyway. Okay, cool. So that's also good to note. We found a one big blind lead with those combos, which will probably devastate our opponents long term. But then when we're facing the all-in, of course, we're not going to go broke. That's fine. This is all good. All of this makes sense in my head. And yeah, sorry, just back to our actual initial hand. We had 6-7. 6-7's a call, right? 6-7, 100% all in, 100%. So the common theme here is all the strong made hands, 7-5, 7 tray, all that stuff, are led some of the time, and then we always go broke. That's obvious, right? But the pairs plus the draws are going in as well. 9, 6, 3, 4, 5. That's a double gut shot. That goes in. Top pair goes in. Any top pair goes in. This is cool. So going back to the flop, how often do we lead? A fair amount. We're doing it with a couple very cheeky hands that have blocking capabilities, but we're doing it with a bunch of made hands as well, including some of our gut shots. 10-6 offsuit, that's just a bare gut shot. That's a cool lead. Jack-6 offsuit, that's a bare gut shot as well. So we can lead these boards pretty aggressively, but we know it's kind of obvious how we go broke. But let's now double check our work. Let's say that we have 7 deuce. Are we folding that to the shove? Okay, so there's some calling versus raise, but because we're not facing a raise, basically, is the issue. Sorry, this is the big blind. We're in the small blinds. This is the wrong one. Here we go. So we're here. We're facing a raise. This is the right one. Sorry. So top pairs. It's a different spot, right? Because we have fewer pair plus low card. So 7 deuce kind of exists, but that's not really going to be a frequent one. Yeah, we can't really compare this to the previous spot in terms of top pair weak kicker, because everything that we have here is either a good 7 that we go broke with, or it's got equity, right? So like, apart from 7 deuce specifically, where you can see there's some folding, there's not a top pair with a low card, because the low cards all interact with the 5 and the 3. Cool. This is interesting too. Nice work. I think the interesting point there, though, is also by leading on this sort of a board, we're obviously like protecting our hand to a certain degree. In fact, we're protecting many of our hands, 5-4, 5-6. But then also we deny a lot of equity if our opponent is not willing to continue with a hand as strong as King 10, King Jack, Jack 10. And I'm not even sure how I would respond if I was facing a lead with that, right? It's very difficult at the stack depth to know what to do with those. And I think this probably outperforms in reality. So, good one. Very good one. That's super interesting, and I'm glad that we're getting some of the leads right here, because that means twice in a row we're actually finding the right spots when they're hard to find. Okay, so 13 big blind push, and we call with ace-9. I think this is pretty straightforward. This is another NWTV chart pack spot. This is the wrong one. Let's do this. So images in the 3-way, in the big blind, and the button open shoves. This was at 13 big blinds. Button open shove, small blind fold at 13. Yeah, I mean ace 6 off is a technical call. Ace 9 is miles in a call. That's fine. This is pretty straightforward. All right, guys. So even though that was fewer hands to review, there was a lot of really good stuff in there. A lot of confirmation of that we're thinking along the right lines. Confirmation that some of the spots that were bad for our EV were in fact probably very well thought out. Because of course we're not trying to get every spot right. We're trying to get the heuristics of each individual spot correct, so that overall we're going to perform well in these spots against unknowns who are going to do weird stuff, basically. But it was a good sesh. So there we go. This is the year so far. We're making a lot of progress. I'm loving the focus. I think it's showing up in our results right now. We're having much fewer stopping mistakes. And yeah, thank you for stopping by. So what's happening now? This weekend, guys, I'm offline, so I will not be doing a stream Saturday or Sunday. However, on Monday, we do have the Sunday Million, which is also, I believe, the main event of the New Year's Series event, which is an extra large Sunday Million. So there's going to be an even larger than normal player pool. There's been a lot of feeders going into that event, so it's going to be a massive one to watch. It's going to be myself and Chris Dragalis doing commentary on Monday at around 7 p.m. UK. We're going to cover the final few tables all the way down to a winner on Monday, so I hope you guys will join me for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, then we'll get back to the spinning goes. Next week, we'll do more spins. I'll let you guys know what the schedule looks like. I'm going to make a content plan this weekend, and we're gonna launch another Spin and Go challenge. So we're going to do another challenge that's going to look something like the 50K challenge, but I'm looking at numbers like $200,000, $300,000 played. Volume targets are going to be like off the charts, and I hope you guys will join me. So that's a wrap for today, guys. If you have enjoyed this content, go ahead and check out my social media platforms where I do a lot of posting. It's been a little bit dead there, but this year I'm hoping to get out way more content in short form, particularly on my Instagram and TikTok channels. And that's a good place to get notified about when streams go live, because I do that every time, most of the time. So I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you guys